Alright, so we're checking out another new camera that supports GYROflow data, and this one here is from Hawkeye, the original Hawkeye. They call this the Hawkeye 4K NakedCam version 4.0 with GYROflow support. And if you saw my video from a while back, this is the Hawkeye Naked, I guess the split V2. This is based off of the split camera. If you want to go look at that video, let me know in the comments and I'll send you the link. I'll have to go dig for it. I don't remember exactly where it is offhand, but this is basically a split camera with a HD camera board and a HD camera sensor. And I made a video where I kind of put this like in a little sort of a compact package here where you can mount it onto like a Cinewhoop, and they've kind of done something different here. The camera board's inside here. You can see the ribbon cable that goes to the sensor and the lens module, and they put this into a case here. You have two mounting points. You have an 5mm screw mounting point, which is basically a GoPro type mounting point, and then a 3mm screw mounting point here, which is going to work for a lot of the HDLRC models that have this type of mount here. This is what I flew it on. So this is a 3mm screw, and it does come with the screws. So you get a spare ribbon cable, that's the lens cap, and you get the 5mm screw, a nut, and 3mm screw, a nut if you don't happen to have that. This particular model did have it, so I didn't have to use it, and I mounted it on this mount over here. And you got your two buttons here, mode and OK on this side. This case is included, and I'll link where you can get this, where you can buy this. That's like, I think it's only sold at AliExpress and Maker Faire currently. And well, let me just show you what else comes in the rest of the box here. So you get these wire harnesses here. Two of them are the same, and they happen to go where I'm using this little setup here to power the camera. This is not included. I'll explain that a little bit later. But this is where this goes, like such. And I found a 2-pin connector here that's the same pitch as this connector that's included in the camera. And you can see the red and the black there for the power. I think it is 5 to 23 volts on the power, and then the rest of these wires here are for some other functions, which I'm not going to cover in this video. You can read the manual if you want to know what that's all about. So instead of using this cable here with a bunch of functions I'm not going to use, I just decided just to use the power only, and this little voltage regulator sends 5 volts to the camera, and then I have a little capacitor here, and then these little pins, which are pretty hard to see. These go into the balance lead of a battery, and I can choose which one I want to put it into. So here's the battery, and if I want to use just 2 cells, I can use 2 cells. It's a 3-cell battery, or I can use all 3 cells if I want. Obviously you want to match the polarity, so it's got to go in like this. This is I made a video on how to power up a naked GoPro a while back. If you can't find that on my channel, let me know in the comments and I'll send you the link to that. But this is where this came from. So I guess in theory I could just plug this straight in, but the way this was in my drone, like this, it was the balance lead was in the back, so I needed a little bit longer ones. I just happened to use a 5-volt regulator as well. The connector here is for the control board, which kind of, it looks like one of those FPV camera control boards that lets you get into the settings, and you have to do that using the video out function on this. So this will plug into here, and then you have this kind of complicated setup here. Basically it's analog video out from USB-C, and then if you want to, so this is like a 3-pin connector here. If you want to plug this into like a bigger audio jack or video jack, you can use this setup here. So this is included. There's a USB-C port over here next to the micro SD card slot. plug this into here. And then this goes into your goggles or your monitor. So I'm going to plug this into a monitor here. I'm just going to show you the settings really quick. So turn on our monitor. We'll plug in our video in over here. And then of course we need to turn the camera on using another balance lead from a different battery. Camera turns on and should have video. Let's see which way's up. This way's up. So in here it shows you the different settings here. There's like the OSD of the monitor is covering it up. You can read about all this in the manual. I'm not going to cover it in super detail here. But basically, this is basically like the guts of a action camera, like one of the Hawkeye's action cameras from like years ago, and they've made some slight modifications and iterations over the years to produce a split camera, and then this is the version 4 of that final iteration. And you use this little joystick here to go into the menu. Let's see here, is it the down button? The down button changes modes. Okay, so up and down changes modes from video to photo. And then I think it's the right button is for viewing the files, if there's any files on the SD card, and the left button will get you into the menu. So this is the menu. So here you can choose things like resolution, loop recording, etc. I'm not going to cover all this stuff. You can read the manual if you want. I didn't change any of the settings, but you can, go in here and change these things, like, turn the gyro log on and off. You can set your shutter speed. So you can get fairly detailed in terms of how you want your image to look. So it is very adjustable. But yeah, obviously you can go to town and go crazy here. But I wanted to point out this one thing that's really important on the resolution. And I only tested this on 2.5K, 50 frames per second, 4:3 aspect ratio. So this is the mode that has the GYROflow data, which is the only thing I'm interested in for this video. Yeah, you can look at the rest of the stuff, and it's just basically like the old split cameras. Not very interesting because you can't stabilize the video. It does have 4K, 50 frames per second, 4:3 mode with no gyro data, which is not that interesting because you can't stabilize it. So, and I think, at the higher resolution here, it's got so much data, the processor on here is not able to also save gyro data, which is why it's set up this way. It's possible they might update that in a future firmware update if they can resolve some of the processing issues, but I wouldn't hold your breath. So everything you're going to see here is in this 2.5K, which is like 2592 by like 19 something. I'll put it up on your screen with the resolution. It's kind of a strange resolution, but you can change this in GYROflow to 16:9. Of course, they'll stretch that out, which is what you want. You want the full 4:3 sensor. And I upscaled the video to 4K or 2.7K. I forget which one I did, but basically, even when you upscale it, you don't get better image quality because the bitrate on this mode here at 50 frames per second is only about 40 megabits. So it's okay-ish. I think the default settings in here, too much saturation, too much contrast. You could probably go in there and reduce those to your liking. Probably want to reduce sharpness as well. That'll help a lot with the GYROflow when it resamples the video. Those are just some suggestions off the top of my head. Those will usually help in most situations here, but because it is a fairly lower bit rate, there's not a whole lot you can do. There's no flat color profile or anything like that. Fairly limited. So, the thing about this setup here is the cost. It's about $72 at MakerFire. I think it's even cheaper at AliExpress. If I look at the pricing, it was like 60 something. Pretty inexpensive for something that weighs around 27 grams. And you can get fairly decent video, and you can stabilize it in GYROflow. And the results are pretty decent in GYROflow. There's a little bit of micro jitters because of the way I have it mounted on the drone. It's basically directly mounted to the drone instead of using some sort of like vibration isolation pad, like on some Sunwebs. It's because I don't have any HGRC drones that have that sort of vibration isolation. So if you want less of the micro jitters, you just have to change the mounting. That'll help. But the the stabilization results are pretty good this setup. Now, in terms of getting the software and everything, you're going to want to use the QR code to get the manual here, and then there's like a link. I'll put the link in the video description. You have to download the lens profile for GYROflow because that's not included in the default settings or the default camera presets for GYROflow 1.0. So I'll just put up here on the screen what the settings you should use that were included in the manual. And the most important thing you have to remember is the IMU orientation. If you just do the default settings in GYROflow, it gets it wrong. So I'll put it up here on the screen. What you need to put in is like Y, X, Z or something like that with lowercase x, I believe. I might be wrong. I'll just put it up on the screen. You look at what's on the screen. That's correct. And you have to do the auto sync, of course, to sync the gyro data to the video. And then when you do that, go to the advanced settings to make sure that essential matrix is selected. That's important. Believe that is pretty much it. You need those settings, and then you need the lens profile from the download file. And once you have all those things, of course, you have the video file and the gyro data file. You got to load those up as you normally would, and just export it out. And basically that's what I got in terms of the results you're seeing here. Yeah, they're okay. They're pretty good. You know, this is like there's a lot of these kind of cameras coming out, and they're coming out at various price points with different sort of features or I guess specifications. So in this case, this is like 2.5K video that's stabilized, and it's a little bit more expensive than the RunCam Thumb, which is a little bit less expensive than this one. So if you're looking at the Thumb, that's like a $55 camera. Only 1080p with a 16:9 sensor, whereas this is probably about $70. 2.5K GYROflow stabilized video, slightly higher bit rate. It's like more than twice the bit rate, and it's a 4:3 sensor. So this is definitely a step up, but it's more weight. It's a bigger camera. So yeah, in terms of the weight here, so this is coming in like 27, almost 28 grams, and then this little lens 3D printed lens guard here I put on here, that's included as well, so that's a little bit of extra weight. But yeah, going back to like so the value proposition here in terms of pricing, this sits in a spot like a little bit higher than the RunCam Thumb, but it gives you a little bit better image quality, a little bit better resolution, and then if you move up another notch, I'm kind of thinking, well, what's the next one up that's maybe gives you 4K video that's stabilized in GYROflow? Is probably the Firefly X Lite version 1, and then I think that, which I don't think is really actually made anymore, be discontinued, but the version 2, which I will be getting a video out on that one soon, that's a little bit more expensive as well. It's actually quite a bit more expensive. I think it's twice the price of this one. It's like $150, but that one will do 4K 4:3 30 frames per second with GYROflow stabilized videos. So as you move up in features and resolution and bit rate, then the cost goes up. But of course, all this stuff is still less than a naked GoPro, of course. Oh yeah, the one I was thinking of is the RunCam 5 Orange, which is around $100, and that's 4K video. It's about 60 megabits, so a little bit better than this one, but it has other problems with GYROflow working properly with it because of the issues with drop frames and duplicated frames, which is still isn't fixed. So there are workarounds. You can do a lot of work, but it may or may not help you with that camera. But it may still be, even after all the work you do, the video results will still not be that great. So that's why I kind of don't even want to include that camera in sort of like this mini roundup that I'm talking about here, because it's kind of faulty in my opinion. And so, I know there's people saying they'll swear by it, like, oh, but I've never gotten those results. I don't know how I know all the workarounds, I've seen them, and I've tried them and spent hours and hours, working on it, but it's just not worth it in my opinion. It should be like a very simple process where you just have to put a few settings in the GYROflow, hit a few buttons, get all the files in, and then render it. And it shouldn't take more than a few minutes. If it's taking you 30 minutes of work you know, to render a video file that you may or may not get good results from, I can't recommend that camera. So I'm just mentioning it because, you know, people are like, oh, you should mention it. Well, I'm mentioning it, but with caveats. Anyway, hopefully you found this video helpful, and let me know if you have any questions about this, what kind of things you want to see in the next cameras. I have the Firefly X-Lite 2 coming, and then there's some other ones coming with more GYROflow support. You know, there's actually a lot more cameras coming out with GYROflow support. They're in different price points, so, you know, let me know what you guys think about all that. That's going to do with this one. Talk to you guys later.